U.S. companies are actively pulling their supply chains out of China. They are searching for a new manufacturing hub, and the Indian subcontinent is the prime target for rerouting those production lines. But there is a historical divide here. China grew into a global economic power by pouring concrete, building roads, ports, and physical hardware. India took a different path, skipping the factory floor entirely to build software and dominate the digital services sector. Focusing on the digital economy built a world-class services sector, but it left a gap in the country's industrial backbone. While India is a leader in pharmaceuticals and textiles, it still relies on foreign imports for the heavy machinery and high-end electronics that drive a modern economy. Now, the government is attempting a massive course correction. They have set a hard target to become a fully developed nation by the year 2047, which requires a highly accelerated catch-up in physical infrastructure. To actually replace China as the world's factory, India has to correct decades of neglected physical development and build a completely new foundation. When India gained independence in 1947, the infrastructure they inherited wasn't designed for national growth. The British had built railways, like the tracks carrying this steam locomotive, almost exclusively to extract raw materials from the interior and move them to coastal ports for export. In the decades that followed, the new government was forced into survival mode. Instead of laying down superhighways, leaders had to focus on fighting extreme poverty and widespread famine, prioritizing agricultural inspection and the Green Revolution just to keep the population fed. The trauma of colonial rule also left a deep mark on economic policy. Fearful of foreign control, India shut its doors to outside investment, creating a heavily regulated, closed economy that starved major construction projects of necessary capital. This map illustrates a policy mistake called the Freight Equalization Policy. The government subsidized the transport of raw materials. As a result, companies took cheap resources from the center but built their factories on the coastal edges for easier export. Inland states were stripped of their resources without gaining any industrial wealth. By prioritizing immediate survival and enacting flawed geographic policies, India's internal supply chain fractured right as rival Asian nations began to rapidly industrialize. The economy finally opened up to the world in 1991. A few years later, Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee launched the country's first modern push for heavy physical infrastructure. His administration initiated the Golden Quadrilateral, a highway network connecting major cities, and launched modern passenger transit systems, introducing the first Delhi metro trains to commuters. During this period, the government aggressively funded construction, pushing capital expenditure on infrastructure up to 23% of the entire national budget. Then political winds shifted. Under the subsequent government, led by Manmohan Singh, national priorities pivoted away from heavy construction and towards social upliftment and rural welfare programs. This bar chart reveals the financial impact of that pivot. Capital expenditure for infrastructure dropped drastically, falling from 23% down to just 12% of the budget, as funds were diverted to rural health and employment guarantees. This pendulum swing between heavy construction and social welfare created a start-stop rhythm. It prevented the relentless compounding growth needed to keep pace with China's continuous infrastructure machine. The current administration, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has aggressively returned to prioritizing physical capital and heavy construction. On this line graph, the budget share dedicated to capital expenditure climbs sharply, recovering to 22.2%. Because India's national budget has expanded so significantly since the 2000s, this similar percentage now represents a record-breaking surge in absolute dollar volume. To put this in perspective, India is currently building a highway network rivaling the scale of the American Eisenhower interstate system. The difference is they are attempting to complete it in a single decade. In 10 years, the country has doubled its number of operating airports, launched fleets of semi-high-speed domestic trains, and pushed its railway network to near 100% electrification. They are powering this expansion with a massive push toward green energy. By building vast solar facilities alongside transit lines, the railway network aims to achieve net zero carbon emissions by the year 2030. This sustained multi-trillion-dollar mega-build is finally laying down the physical bandwidth the country needs to absorb the overflow of global manufacturing. There is a direct economic domino effect to all of this. When a country proves it can build reliable highways and stable power grids, massive foreign direct investment predictably follows. We are seeing the immediate financial payoff. As this stylized counter shows, the value of India's stock market has surged, rapidly ticking up and locking in at over a $5 trillion market capitalization. Sustaining this momentum until 2047 is the only way to challenge China's manufacturing lead. After decades of stop-start growth, the initial blueprint for a modern, connected India is finally moving from theory into concrete. Do you think India will become the ultimate manufacturing alternative to China? Let us know in the comments, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe to US Talkies for more deep dives.